Welcome back to another Pokemon What If Wednesday, where every Wednesday morning we go through last week's investing and collecting questions, where your guys' questions will actually be featured in the video, and one person's question will help me make the thumbnail every single week. So please drop your questions down below for a chance to be in next week's video, and if I did comment to you saying great question, I might use this and I didn't, please drop that same question again and put repeat question. It'll get moved to the top. And I'm not saying I'm some guru who just knows everything, but when I'm unsure, I always like to talk it out with a few people. It always helps me make my final decision. And we do have to give a big thanks to our video sponsor real quick, and that is ARIZONATCG. If you guys have some graded cards you're looking to sell, could be PSA, CGC, Tag, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, One Piece, it does not matter, then ARIZONATCG is perfect for you, especially if you do not want to deal with a bunch of people lowballing you or you having to ship cards out every single day or every other day. All you do is just send them all your graded cards. They're going to take professional scans, and they're going to post it to their massive weekly eBay auctions. You do have full control. You can change it to buy it now or leave it as an auction. As you can see, we got a Latios and Latios tag team in a 10 for buy it now at $10,000. And they actually did a promotion during the holidays where they cut their prices in half, and it went over so well that they now lowered their prices to almost match that at all times. So definitely check them out. I'll have all the links in the description. Then, of course, you're going to grade through PSA. You can click my link in the description. Use code BEARD25 and receive $25 off your very first submission, which is basically a free graded card. And I'd rather have you grade it yourself than trusting other random people to do it or people like GameStop. So, first question, this is from Mike Martinez. Do you think we will ever get back to how it was? I can't find Pokemon anywhere. So, honestly, it's really going to take a few rough sets for Pokemon to cool off. Now that One Piece is kind of going crazy, I think that will help a little bit. I think that will cool Pokemon off just a tiny bit, especially, if that new Perfect Order set that comes out is not that good, which it's looking like a very, very small set, and a lot of people aren't really liking the mascots. So all it really takes is a few average or bad sets like that, and then something else getting hot, to where the market can definitely cool off, and you'll start finding stuff. Especially, Perfect Order, if that's, a bad set, then you'll definitely be able to pick some stuff up every once in a while, I'm sure, and you'll have better odds of finding stuff. Now, a lot of people are guessing that, Gen 10, that's when the Pokemon market is going to cool off. Because a lot of times, they make those first couple sets, really, that new gen heavy to where it's basically all the newest generation Pokemon. And if people don't like the new Gen 10 Pokemon, people are not going to like that set. So there's a lot of people betting that once we get to Generation 10, a lot of this stuff will cool off. But like I said, it really depends on what Pokemon we get and what the sets are. I think Pokemon is starting to learn now that you can't just jam pack a set with all brand new Pokemon, and you're going to have to sprinkle some other popular Pokemon in there. So you never know. I mean, Gen 10 could come out swinging. We could get evolutions. It could be crazy. But we do have the 30th anniversary coming soon, and I can promise you it is going to be insane. Especially, we're already starting to see a couple of the products, and we're getting new first partner packs. And we're talking brand new illustration rares of all the starters. It's just going to be crazy now that we have illustration rares and special illustration rares compared to Celebrations, where we really didn't have that yet. We had some alternate arts, but we didn't get any in that set. And pretty much all the cards are reprints, so I have a feeling this 30th anniversary is going to be the best anniversary set we've ever had. So that's definitely going to make the market hot. But I think maybe after that, and like I said, if Gen 10 comes in and they really do a Gen 10 heavy, those first couple sets, and people don't really like it, Pokemon will definitely cool off. I know people feel like it's impossible and this is going to go on forever, which it has gone on for a very, very long time now. Because, yeah, this boom has been going on for over a year and a half now. So this is a super long boom, much longer than the first boom. I always say this, but we never even had every booster box over $120 in the first boom. And we don't even have a booster box under, $220 for this boom. It's just completely different, completely crazy. And that's why I always say it really depends on what's in the sets and, what's coming out in the future. So, if Pokemon keeps making banger set after banger set after banger set, Pokemon's not really going to cool down that much. But, like I said, if we get a couple sets, maybe 2 or 3 sets in a row that are not that good, with One Piece being hot, Pokemon will definitely cool off. I've already been hearing stories of people picking up One Piece and stuff steel products over Pokemon steel products, which I am totally okay with. And then even myself, I don't buy stuff from the store anymore, from Walmart or Target, even if I do see it. I mean, if it's a fresh restock and there's a UPC or something, I'd maybe grab that, or a prismatic ETB or something crazy. But I just try to leave everything now, and that's why I mostly just get Pokemon Center ETBs, booster boxes, or booster box cases, or just sealed cases of other stuff that I like, because that's the stuff you're not going to find at Walmart or Target, and I'd rather have the kids get that, So all we can really do is just hope for, you know, a couple bad sets, maybe after the 30th anniversary, and that should definitely help cool some things off. But again, you know, Destined Rivals is still going to fly off the shelves. You know, anything 151 or Prismatic is still going to go crazy just because there's such crazy sets, and, you know, there's so much money in Pokemon now to where I can't see those ever, like, going below MSRP ever. So, you know, they're just too popular. And the other thing we can really hope for is massive reprints, like the Mega Charizard UPC. I mean, that thing is 120 MSRP plus tax, and it's selling for like 140 to 150. That's not terrible. And just wait till we get the Costco UPCs at like $80 a box or whatever it's going to be. They'll probably drop even a little bit more, maybe like 130, 135, or maybe even down to 120 if people just want to make a quick 40 bucks. So if we get some massive reprints, that could definitely, you know, stock up the shelves. Like, I just got a sealed case of the Mega Charizard UPCs for $410. You know, that's $102.50 a box. Like, that's such a good deal. Next is from @Jerome. Question, thoughts on build and battle stadiums? Seems like even when the market drops, they hold strong. So when it's a product that like isn't super, super popular, they actually don't really go up and down that much just because there isn't a ton of sales. So like even like a Champion's Path ETB or like those random ETBs in boxes, you know, when the market starts cooling off, they usually just sit there. People kind of just forget about them, and I feel like a lot of people forget about the build and battle stadiums. So there's a lot of packs in here, and I mean, look at how nice that art is on that build and battle stadium for Lost Origin, market price $165. Silver Tempest market price $105. Palais Evolved $130. I mean, you know, Scarlet and Violet base set is still $80. And when you click on them, it tells you everything that's in there. So you get 2 individual build and battle boxes, each containing ready-to-play 40-card decks, which do have a promo on there. And some of them are worth, you know, a couple bucks. Some are worth like 10 or 15. And each one of those build and battle boxes comes with 4 booster packs. So you're getting, you know, 8 packs with those decks, plus 2 40-card decks with the 2 promos, plus an additional 3 packs. You get 11 packs in all, plus energies, you know, a dice, condition markers, and a nice box. So I do think people are definitely sleeping on some of this stuff. I mean, $80 for 11 packs plus the decks and the promos is not a bad price if you really, really think about it. And of course, it goes back to high to low. Drives me nuts when TCG Player does that. But look at Fusion Strike, market price $220. Silver Tempest is $105. Like I said, Lost Origin $160. And even Evolving Skies is $520. But I like building battle stadiums. I have a few of them. But just know if you do go to sell them in the future, they do take a while to sell. That's one of the bad things about them. But it is a good way to get some packs, especially, you know, if you have someone who wants to buy your packs individually in the future or something like that. You never know. Because the promos, if they do hit 10s, they're worth a decent amount to where you could definitely make a decent chunk of money, you know, breaking the whole box down. Next is from My Name Lil Daryl. Hey Beard, I have a question. I have a Manaphy Generations 2-pack box and was thinking about trading it. Should I trade that for a Silver Tempest booster box? So I would not trade it yet. That is a 20th anniversary product, and we're about to have the 30th anniversary. So these will get a tiny little bump once the 30th anniversary comes out. And you can just tell, I mean, it's got the little Pikachu symbol with 20 on there. If you guys did not know, you know, we had a 20th anniversary also. So yeah, just hold them a little bit longer. So yeah, once it hits the 30th anniversary, you are good to go and you can trade it for a booster box or whatever. I just wish these boxes came with a couple more packs because I think these are some of the best promos we've ever gotten. And honestly, they're the first ever illustration rares. I know they're not called illustration rares, but they're technically illustration rares. So I'm a big fan of these. Just wish they had more packs. But all right, next question is from Matthew D. My bearded brother, I looked through some of my old forgotten totes of cards. I came across about 100 packs of Sun and Moon, Lost Thunder, Guardian Rising, and Unbroken Bonds 3-card mini packs. Any value? I've tried looking them up and I can't find any sales. Holding all my sealed, but not sure what to do with these. Any thoughts? Also, just wanted to say What If Wednesdays are my favorite. Appreciate that. So we're on eBay here, checking out some of the 3-card mini booster packs. So you can get these from like Dollar General. That's where they came from, like dollar stores and stuff. They're worth a decent amount. Let's see if we can get one of just one pack. This one says $20 for one, but or best offer. Let's see here. We got 2 right here for $40. So don't ever open these. Trust me. I've seen a ton of people open these. I've opened a ton of them. You almost never get anything. I would definitely sell them whenever you can and probably put that money into, you know, some other steel products or, you know, regular booster packs or something like that. Because these things do kind of suck and they can take a while to sell. So yeah, I got rid of all of my 3 packs. I'm not a fan of them. All right, next is from Ella PRX3. Hi Beard, what do you think about Pokemon Day Eevee promo? Do you think it will do well in a few years, kind of like SM162, or would you say that's a long shot? So I have a feeling it will definitely go up in value a little bit. It's a super cute card, and honestly, it's $3-4. So not a bad card to just pick up a few nice copies, and you never know what's going to happen in the future. It might not reach the same price as SM162, but I could definitely see this card being, like a $15, $20 card. No problem. It's absolutely beautiful. I just wish it was like an actual illustration or something and it'd be going crazy. Next is from TJ Bartlemus. What are your thoughts on picking up a Tag 10 Pikachu 5 from Celebration? It has a super low pop and is half the price of the PSA 10. I honestly feel that Tag has better quality control versus PSA, and with Beckett getting bought up like CGC, it may be the premium option going forward. So I do like Tag, and I think they have a very good chance of like being very, very popular in the hobby. They do need to come out with their grading pods. We'll see if that's ever going to come out or if that's even possible. And I have seen a handful of 10s through Tag that should not have gotten a 10. So it's not perfect. They definitely need to work on it. It's new and it's technology, so it's never going to be perfect. But if they just keep improving and keep working on stuff and like I said, come up with those pods, which would be a game changer if you can get your card graded in a matter of minutes. I mean, that would be huge. And I think Tag could definitely do work. It's just tough to take over PSA when you got to think there's collectors out there that have millions and millions and millions of dollars invested into PSA and PSA slabs. So it's going to be tough for, a lot of people to, just swap over. And then you got to think, since Tag is much tougher to grade, people want to get 10s. So if you send a bunch of cards through Tag and the grading is so tough to where you get a bunch of 8s, 9s, and don't get any 10s, more people are going to want to send a PSA, which is one of the reasons why Beckett, was kind of niche and a lot more people sent the PSA because Beckett was so strict. That's why I always say buy the card, not the grade. I mean, there's a big difference between a lot of PSA 10s to where you can find a truly minty PSA 10 that would grade, very well through other grading companies. And then you're also going to find PSA 10s that should not have got a PSA 10. So that's why I always say check the card. Don't just automatically buy it because it's the grade you want. Look at it and make sure it's actually clean. And then two, this Pikachu is very, very tough to grade. There's only 774 10s and 8,800 9s. There's 12,000 8s. But when we're talking about like Tag pop reports, just know it's a newer grading company. I basically just ignore all their pop reports because it's brand new. All the cards basically have low pop reports. So you kind of got to ignore that. And then also, since there isn't a ton of these cards graded, when they do come on the market, they sell for a good amount of money because even if there's just like 10 people who collect Tag and one of these cards comes up and they all want that card, it's going to go for a crazy price. But anytime you can find a Tag 10 that is half the price of a PSA 10, I would 100% pick that up every single time. Even, some CGC 10s, if they look really, really nice, and it's half the price of a PSA 10, I'd also pick that up. I know a ton of people, and I've even done it myself, that have picked up CGC 10s or Tag 10s or whatever and got them cross-graded through PSA, and they hit the PSA 10 and they're now worth double. So I know a ton of people that do that. So that's why it does pay to, keep your eye out for some of these other random grading companies. So, if you're just looking through some stuff and you see a bunch of CGC 10s, maybe look through a couple of them. You never know. You can maybe grade it through PSA or whoever you want, and you can get a little bit more value. But all right, next question is from N1K31. Hey, Beer, 2 questions. I just picked up the Zard from Brilliant Stars because it's down almost $200 from its all-time high. I think it's going to do really well long-term, but I was wondering what you were thinking. Also, do you think trying to pick up one of each monthly pin for this year would be a good idea? I'm not a pin guy, but I'm sure they'll do okay. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, anytime you can buy a chase card for $200 less than it was, that's a no-brainer. I've been screaming that the last couple months when all these cards dropped. It's a good time to pick up some of these. And I also love that Brilliant Zard. So I think that is a great buy for sure. Especially, we've seen how expensive the card can get. And cards always go up and down. Constantly. So yeah, great buy. All right, next is from Matthew Ferroni. Hey, Beard, ever make it down to Iowa for any shows? Me and my Pokemon crazy 7-year-old son would love to meet you. I might be there in 2026 sometime. I'm not sure. I'm working on my schedule now. Question about buying raw versus PSA 9. Often just don't have the budget to spring for a PSA 10 of the cards we like, but feels like buying the 9 has this baked-in disappointment for a modern card, where raw still carries that gem potential premium. Just makes me nervous to buy anything over 50 that doesn't have the authenticity guarantee of a slab, and for ultimate protection. Thoughts? Thanks, Matt. Yeah, that does kind of suck. I mean, when you get that PSA 9 for that brand new card, it's just very disappointing to where even myself, I'd rather just have it raw than a PSA 9. But don't feel like you can't buy anything over $50 or it's going to be fake or anything like that. As long as you're getting it from a legit seller on eBay or TCG Player or from your local card shop, you are good to go, especially if we're talking English. I mean, like the new Chinese exclusives, those are faked a ton, and some stuff is faked, obviously. But as long as you get it from a legit seller, you can buy raw all day long. Don't feel like you got to buy nines. And then if you're worried about like protection, no joke, literally just a penny sleeve and a top loader is totally fine for your cards. Because sometimes a PSA 9 does have a nice little premium over the raw, depending on the card. So I'd rather you save that money and buy another raw card instead of just feeling like you have to buy PSA 9s if it's over $50. Next is from Zach McIntyre, 2009. Probably butchered that. Question, I'd love to hear your thoughts, strategy for how you move your money around what you're investing in, percentages in sealed versus cards, long hold cards versus short-term cards, how you cycle into and out of something if you need to free up capital, how you choose when to move into new things. I may have missed this before in another video, but given how transparent you are, it would be great to hear an in-depth discussion on this. So I really don't worry about the percentages that much. I'm much more of a laid-back, just chill type of guy. Now, like long-term versus short-term cards, I love my promos. I'm very cheap. I love buying cards that are, $10 or less, even like $5 or less, buying a ton of them and, getting those cards graded, waiting for them to go crazy. There's been so many cards that I've bought for like 50 cents or $1, a ton of them that are all now worth like 10, 20, 30. Some are even worth like $40, $50. I was buying the Pink Mew at $3 a card. And now that's a $50 card and was just at 70. So that's the stuff that I really focus on. That's a little bit more short term. I'm talking, a couple years or a few years. So I actually really don't worry about the percentages that much and like focus on all that. I'm a lot more chill and laid back. But like for like short term and long term, short term, I love the cards that are like $5 or less or $10 or less. Cards that I can get a ton of them where it does not cost me a lot of money. Very low risk, but very high potential. Like I was buying the Pink Mew at $3 a card, which is now selling for 50, and it was just at 70. So stuff like that. And that's the stuff that I'm down to buy and, keep for a couple years or, maybe at 5 years at most, kind of like the Greninja Gold Star. That should, pop off after the 30th anniversary again. It should go up in price. So stuff like that, that's kind of the shortest term stuff that I do. And then I don't really buy sealed products to just turn around and flip or sell. The only time I ever do that is when I'm vending and someone wants to trade me for something or they're giving me something for a good deal and I just buy it and throw it back on the shelf. But otherwise for sealed, I'm super long term. And that's why I really try to get multiples of everything, like a minimum of 4 of every booster box and Pokemon Center ETB. So you have options in the future. You could let a couple of those go in 5 to 10 years and then keep the other 2 for, 20, 30 years. And then when I'm talking about like my actual card collection, I don't plan on ever selling any of that because I'm trying to collect every single rare card basically ever released in Pokemon, like the best cards from each single era and generation, like the level X cards, the prime cards, all the EX cards, gold stars, crystals, all that. And I'm super, super close. So that's the stuff that I want to be flipping through on my deathbed and pass down to my kids, which they'll know exactly what to do, if they do want to sell it. And then like for my sealed, like I said, I'm long term, but when I'm like 50 or 60, I would not mind selling half of my sealed to enjoy that money and then keep the rest of the sealed to, pass down to my future kids. Or if I need money, super late in life, I can always sell that stuff. So that's why I always try to get super, super cheap promos, as many as I can. I swear, when I started my channel a few years ago, I was the only person that I ever heard talking about getting just full pages of the same card. Now I constantly hear people talking about doing that. I see it all the time too at shows. But yeah, that's my favorite thing for like more of the short term, especially if you get into grading. And also too, buying collections and then, getting some of those cards graded. That is the best way to make some money for sure. And I don't really ever sell anything in my collection anymore to like buy other stuff in my collection. If anything, I would just, keep hunting that until I found it for a better and better deal or save up for it if I really wanted it. I just usually regret selling my stuff in my collection. I've sold a few things in my day that I really wish I would not have. So I just try to keep everything now, which is one of the reasons why vending is rough for me, because I just want to keep everything that I get, especially if it's nice. But all right, next question is from that YouTube guy. How do you value raw, high-end vintage? I do a lot of buying for my collection and try to value vintage based off of what I think the card would grade and then look up how much the card sells for in that grade. So I don't like when people do that because you never know what it's going to grade, like you're not 100% sure. I always like to go down a grade. So if you think your card is going to grade a 7, or if you think their card is going to grade a 7, I think a fair value would probably be like a PSA 6 value, because that's, a little bit safer. Odds are, there's a good chance it does get that 6. So I always try to go underneath. I hate when people charge the exact same price as it is, graded as it is raw, because you think it'll get that. You don't know for a fact. And if we're going to be doing that, I'm going to be buying the graded card over the raw card every single time if they're the same price. So you always got to go a little bit under than what you think, in my opinion. Next is from Maro Disabato. Probably butchered that. He is a member. Dear Sir Pokebearded Dragonite, I started a Pokemon LLC last year, sold 500 plus items on eBay, and became a top-rated US seller while still working full-time. My kids and I love the hobby, and I'd love to grow the business into something I could pass down to them. But without distribution, profitability is tough. I've tried acrylics, but margins are thin and competition is heavy. In your royal opinion, what are the best short-term ways to grow? Should I focus on buying collections and flipping them? Any tips on how to do that effectively? So yeah, buying collections is the way to go in my opinion, especially if you get a lot of the cards graded. I know it can take a while and it kind of ties up a lot of money, but you just kind of got to do it. Just like take 6 months, buying a bunch of collections and send off like 4 or 5, big collections through PSA, or just wait and do one big one. But what's nice about doing multiples is, you'll always kind of have cards coming back to where you can use that money to buy more cards, to send in more cards in. But if you just do one big one, it's going to be super expensive, to send them all out. And then, you're going to probably get some upcharges and stuff too. And that's going to be very expensive. And then you got to wait. So yeah, buying big collections is the best. So you really need to be on eBay every day. You need to be on auctions ending soon. Type it in Pokemon card lot, Pokemon card collection, or you need to be on buy it now, newly listed. People make mistakes all the time listing their cards, and that is your best chance to actually find one and get stuff for a crazy good deal. You also need to be on Facebook Marketplace. You should also be making posts on Facebook Marketplace and like all these groups to that, letting people know that you are buying collections, because you never know who's going to see that and what kind of collection, they're going to hit you up with. It could be a life-changing collection. You never know. So just always be buying collections, always be grading, just constantly have that stuff rolling, flipping. Maybe do some card shows also, because you're going to be missing out on a ton of good collections and deals there. So I would definitely do all of that. And if you're doing all of that, you could honestly just start a Pokemon channel. If you're serious about it, it could do very, very well in the future. I know it's a little oversaturated right now, but still, worst case scenario, it doesn't do that good. You now have videos of like you and your family that they can always go back and watch, which I think is just super, super cool. So I think it'd be a super fun experience for you and your family to go vend and maybe record a video or do whatever. And you just never know. So yeah, you just got to go all out on all that stuff. Next is from @Skullstacks. My question is, with the value of cards in Black Bolt and White Flare ETBs, why is this set not increasing in price and being ignored for the most part? So it is basically still a brand new set. If we were in normal Pokemon times, a new set would come out, it'd be popular, and then it would immediately crash, and then it would just basically stay there for 5 years and then slowly start going up in price. But now, with the market being so crazy, people just, assume a set's been out for 6 months and it should start going up in price. But even with this market, there's just too many sets, and, like Destined Rivals has a lot more hype, even though, some would say Black Bolt and White Flare might be better, but, Destined Rivals has a lot more popular Pokemon. To where, Black Bolt and White Flare just kind of get lost. They kind of get overshadowed by some stuff. I do think they will do very, very good in the future, because I think they're crazy, crazy sets if you truly think about it. But yeah, there's just too many sets. It's just brand new. So you got to wait a while, a couple years before we really see some movement, probably for Black Bolt and White Flare, some actual movement. But all right, next question is from @Merq. Hey, Mr. Fantastic Beard. I was wondering where you would suggest hunting for more mid-air vintage older sets. I'm trying to collect all Bulbasaur, Leafeon, and Ampharos cards. Honestly, I'm an eBay guy, and you can even type in a card and hit like save search, and you'll get an email when new versions of that card pops up. So I definitely recommend doing that. But yeah, I am eBay guy through and through. Otherwise, if you're like big on like Facebook and you really like stuff like that, you can make big posts like, collecting every single Bulbasaur and Leafeon and Ampharos card, hit me up with what you got. That works a ton too. I've seen a lot of people do that. Next is from Bryce Brinston. Mr. Beard, I'm looking to take some of my bulkier Sword and Shield collection boxes that have gained some value over the years and hopefully purchase some older booster boxes like Sun and Moon era before they really, really start to get out of reach. What is the best way to do this without losing a ton of value either in trade or having to pay fees on apps like eBay? Appreciate all your wisdom as always. So I would definitely start off with Facebook Marketplace. That's going to be your best option to where you can get close to market, but just be prepared to be lowballed by like 1,000 different people. But you might be able to sell a few things very, very close to market. Otherwise, vending, but you do have to pay for the table and it's not guaranteed it's going to sell. But a lot of times you can get pretty close to market or just slightly under market. But again, you got to pay for the table. So it is tough to like sell some stuff without, someone getting a cut somewhere, to where your only option really is Facebook Marketplace to get it as close to market as possible. Because then again, it has to be under market. Otherwise, they can just order it online. Why are they going to come meet a random person if it's the same price it is online? So you're never going to get probably 100% for most of your stuff. You're going to have to take probably 90, 95%, but that's not terrible. And last question is from Jeffy Flute. What is your opinion on 151 in the long term, 10, 15, 20 years? It's one of the most popular sets of the last 5 years and definitely a set that contributed to the recent craze. Curious to know your true thoughts on the ETBs, booster bundles, and UPCs as a collector. Second part, when you say buy a ton, when referring to cards or sealed hitting your price points, how many we talking? Thanks. So when I say buying a ton, when we're talking about these cheaper promos, like I'm talking a ton, as many as I could possibly buy for a good deal. So, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 cards sometimes. Like I said, I got like over 100 or 200 sealed Greninja Gold Star cards because they were so cheap. So when we're talking those cheap cards, I get as many as I can. And then we're talking sealed products. Since the market's so crazy now and it's tough to get stuff for good deals, I get a minimum of 4 of everything, 4 booster boxes. Now for the newer mega sets, I do get a sealed booster box case that I can get for MSRP. And then I also get my 4 loose booster boxes on top of that. But if this was normal times, I'm talking, maybe 2 or 3 cases of each set of booster boxes when booster boxes were all $100 each. Obviously, it's much easier then, but now it's just so tough. But yeah, I'm not worried about 151 at all. But all right, that was today's Pokemon What If Wednesday. If you guys like this content, please make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell, leave a like and comment. If you guys want to support more, Instagram, TikTok, you guys know what to do. But all right, don't you guys have a great day? And if you guys want to watch my last vending video where I actually had a clip from this video go insanely viral, click this video right here. Otherwise, we'll see you next time.